Also remember that there are insane number of ways in which we can contribute. It doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter what access we have, but everybody can be part of the change that we want to see. And on that note, it's time for the final session of the day, a session titled Acting the Odds, the New Rules of Play. Last year, we had the captain of our first World Cup winning team at NTLF. And this year, we have the coach of our second World Cup winning team gracing the stage. And when it's a topic covering India's favorite sport, it can only have one person from amongst us to host it. Without further ado, please welcome Keshav Murugesh, Group CEO, WNS Global Services. Keshav, looking forward to this conversation. The stage is all yours. Take it away.
Well, hi everyone. A very good evening to all of you. And I must tell you, this is that session which is both work and play, something you've been waiting for the whole day. You know, when India won the Cricket World Cup in 2011, among the many scenes of celebration at the Wankhede Stadium, there was one that stood out for me at least. It was this picture of this man hoisted on the shoulders of the Indian cricketers doing the victory lap. It was, to me, a wonderful demonstration of love, admiration, respect that every member of that World Cup winning team had for this extraordinary coach. Now, this man took just 7 minutes to convince the BCCI that he, and only he, was the person that could enable Team India to win the World Cup. Over the next 3 years, from 2008 to 2011, this man built one of the most amazing Indian cricket teams ever seen, ever experienced. A team of successful performers who committed themselves to the success of the entire team and not just themselves. He took the India team to the top of the world test ranking in 2009, and in 2011 he ensured that India won the World Cup. It is absolutely no wonder that MS Dhoni, the captain then, called him the best thing that happened to the Indian cricket team. Consistency is his forte. Grit and resilience mark his signature, and trust and loyalty are what his team members would go out of his way or out of their way to give him. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the great pleasure of presenting one of the cricketers who is an all-time great and Team India's favorite cricket coach, Gary Kirsten.
Hi, Keshav, how are you?
Wonderful. I still have a little more to say about you, and then we'll go to the Q&A. So as one of the best batsmen in his time, Gary has blazed a trail of success through 101 test matches and 185 one-day internationals. As a coach, he introduced and drove the practice of mental well-being for his teams. Very familiar in this day and age. With Paddy Upton, he created a very powerful can-do and will-do spirit amongst each of these players. You know, the list of inspirational moments with Gary Kirsten is very, very long. And I'm sure you would rather hear everything from the icon himself. So Gary, the floor is yours. The spotlight is on you, but the questions are from me.
I look forward to it. Thank you for that introduction, and it's great to be sharing this time with everyone in India. India is like a second home to me. I've been to India over 50 times, so that just goes to show that even if I'm in the southern tip of Africa now, in South Africa, India always has a warm place in my heart.
That's amazing. So that means that India's curry no more gives you the runs.
Hopefully I've acclimatized to some of the food, hey? But it's the tastiest food on the planet, that's for sure.
Brilliant. So let's go into the Q&A. My first question to you, Gary. You were about to be a coach for the very first time in your life. The Indian team had very strong individual brands. And there was this frenzied public who put tremendous pressure on the team to constantly win matches. We never understood what losing was all about. How did you handle this baptism by fire?
Yeah, Keshav, I think sometimes it helps being a foreigner, to be honest with you, because you don't understand it enough. I mean, you feel it, that's for sure. There's a massive passion and desire for the game, but you don't always understand the intricacies of each individual and the pressure he's under to perform. I think one of the benefits that I had was having played the game for 17 years professionally, so I understood the pressure of performance, and I think I was able to show real empathy with every one of those players and what they were going through. Even the guys that were the biggest brands in the team, it was really, number one, I could understand it and I could reason with them. And I think for me, building relationships with each one of those guys was very important, that they knew that my intentions were legitimate. I wanted them to be the best version of themselves as individuals, as a team. The one good thing about me having a 17-year playing career is I left it all out there on the field. And, I had nothing more to gain out of trying to prove to that they should, number one, play like me, because I was always going to say no to that. And number two, that I would ever think back to my career at all. It wasn't about me. So it afforded me the opportunity just to think ahead and think forward as to how I could be the best coach for this team. The other thing, obviously, that also benefited me was I'd had very little coaching experience, and that really helped me because come environment with a blank sheet of paper and really learn about coaching as much as I was offering advice. And I think the Indian players quite enjoyed that because they realized, he's not here to tell us what to do. He's here to share in the journey of us optimizing our performance.
Very interesting. You were a friend to Sachin, a mentor to Virat, a strategic partner to Dhoni. Very interesting, actually. VVS Lakshman has gone on record actually, to say he made sure we knew our value and our role. How did you really achieve this as a coach? And also, drawing from your experience, what advice would you give the leaders present here to reinforce their team's strengths and help them raise performance levels?
Yeah, Keshav, that's a great question. The one thing that I would say from the outset is that we never focus on performance. I think it's always a dangerous place for us to be wherever we go. I don't believe in goal setting because I want to enjoy the journey all the way through. I don't just want to get to a destination, which is to reach a goal. I want to live every moment of the journey. And so we never set any goals. Yes, we had dreams and we had visions and we had ideas of where we wanted to go as a team, and we often used to talk about that. But we never said by December we want to be the #1 test team in the world, or we want to win the World Cup. It was just never something that ever entered our thinking. I think the important thing is to understand the environment you're operating in. And the one piece of learning that I took as a new leader was that takes time and you need to be patient around that. I never wanted to come into the environment and to tell people you're doing it wrong and I'm going to tell you how to do it right. I'm not by nature a turnaround strategist, and I'm not by nature a short-term coach. And that's why I've actually battled in IPL, to be honest with you, as a coach, because there's not enough time to build a system, to build relationships, because there is such a demand on the result so instantly. And it's very difficult to build anything and create anything of value when there's so much chopping and changing so quickly. So I'm a big fan of continuity and consistency, as was mentioned earlier. I want to back people and believe in them, even if they make mistakes. I want to scout for talent, and then I want to get the best skill. But sometimes you'll get the best out of that skill in a short period of time, but more times than not, you get the best out of that skill when the environment is set up appropriately. And I looked at that Indian team full of talent, but the fifth best team in the world. And it just, when I looked at this team and I saw Rahul Dravid in it, MS Dhoni, Harbhajan Singh, Zaire Khan, Virender Sehwag, Gautam Gambhir, VVS Laxman, and others, it made me realize this should be the best cricket team in the world. And why aren't they? And I think we all realized, and we all acknowledged as well, that we weren't representing enough of a high purpose. I didn't even mention Sachin Tendulkar in that team. You know what I mean? He was the best. He was the greatest of the lot. But that's how good the team was. And I'd realized very quickly that we were not representing a higher purpose. And I think in life, we only achieve anything of significant value when we do it with a team and in community. Individual success is great, and it's good for us as individuals, but it doesn't actually give you the lasting feeling that you've done something absolutely significant. So in cricket, we kind of use the term, are we playing for the name on the front of the shirt, or are we playing for the name on the back of the shirt? And I used to watch the behaviors every day of every player to make sure that their behaviors reflected that they were representing the team on the front of the shirt, not on the back. Once we start unpacking what those behaviors are, is where the real leadership gold sits. And it starts with the leaders. If you're behaving inappropriately, and if you're behaving representing the name on the back of the shirt, no one else is going to follow you. You don't have any credibility. But if you're representing the name on the front of the shirt, you'll get people to follow you.
Yes, just amazing, Gary. What a story. I mean, you're a special man, but you're a humble man as well. You converted a team of champions into a champion team. You also brought in lots of new and interesting nuances to coaching and also team management. I mean, you brought in Paddy Upton as a mental conditioning coach, a role that, probably never existed in international cricket before. Coming from a first-time coach, what was in your mind when you did that? And I ask this question because today, especially in the post-pandemic business era, mental health is of prime importance. So I'm really interested in understanding your points of view.
Yeah, Keshav, I mean, that is a great question, and I think very relevant to any industry and any working environment, any sports team. And I completely agree with you, is that, if you take the three components of a professional athlete, you have his craft and his ability to excel in his craft. You have his physicality and how he is managing himself through his physicality. And then you have his mind and how he is managing himself in the preparation and development of his mind. And what you find in those three components of a professional athlete is that the development of the mind is badly neglected in professional sport. Because what we do in professional sport as leaders is that we treat the players as performance tools, not as human beings. So we think that if we focus on upgrading their skills and we focus on keeping them fit and healthy, that'll be enough for them to make a performance. And we neglect the fact that actually focusing on keeping them healthy mentally and managing stress and managing the difficulties of being out there in front of 50,000 people, we're losing out on one very important step of the well-being of your athletes. So the appointment of someone like a Paddy Upton was really an opportunity for every individual to have someone that he could go and spend some time looking after his mental health. And the name mental conditioning coach is probably not the right name, to be honest with you. I actually don't know what it is. Maybe a business coach would fulfill a similar role. But someone who was there that you could talk to, unpack around issues. You know, everyone comes to work and they're supposed to leave their issues away from work outside the office. And I wasn't a fan of that. I wanted players to bring their lives, their family lives, and their lives outside the office. I wanted to bring them into the work environment. And I wanted them to be a whole person and a whole package at work. So that if they were having an issue and they had no sleep the night before because their baby was up the whole evening, that we knew that and we understood that as the head coach. Because that, in that way, we could then frame and we could contextualize every practice, every performance, and also allow the player to know that he's in a safe and secure environment where he can be a human being. And so what we did, one of the biggest focuses that we had, Keshav, was to have a whole lot of fun. You know, we knew we were in the world of sports performance and high performance, and it was the Indian national team, but we didn't want to stop having fun. So we created as many opportunities as we could to laugh a lot in between the matches and in between the practices.
Very interesting. So you know, what I got out of that is a good coach like you or a good leader first grabs the body, then the mind, and finally you win and you grab the soul. That's what you did, not just of your team, but the whole of India as well. So well done, Gary. That's a great lesson for all of us. You know, next one, you know, from raising the level of players' performance to creating a virtual playground, technology has now entered sport in a very big way. Yet you, interestingly, have always stated that technology is not everything, as we are still dealing with people and emotion. So is there a lesson for business leaders as we aim to strike the right balance between tech and the human touch?
Well, I think that is the lesson, Keshav, in my view, is that we are dealing with human beings. We're not dealing with machines and performance tools. So you can't mechanize human performance. Technology is an incredible enabler to gaining competitive advantages, to being more intelligent as performers, and to improving your craft, without a doubt. That cannot be denied. But certainly in the world of sport, where the environment is incredibly complex and dynamic, where decisions have to be made on a frequent basis and under pressure, it's impossible to only use technology as the indicator to successful performance. There's just too many variables on a sports field, so we do require a good balance between using the data that's available and building strategy with the data that's available, and providing that enabling tool to help your leaders make the best decisions that they can make.
Great, fantastic balance. You know, the topic of this discussion is acing the odds, and it is universally apt, if you ask me. You know, be it for life, sports, or business. You know, how do you help players deal with adversity and rise above it to be happy team members?
Well, I think for me, any environment that we are operating in as human beings has obstacles and has adversity, and there's no way of getting around that. We are never going to be in an environment where it's all plain sailing and everything works well. And for me, I'm keeping a very close eye as a leader on people when things are tough and when there's adversity. Because I find that when people's carry through those tough times, they're the people that I want in the business forever. or in the team forever. Those guys, for me, are like gold dust. I'll give you two great examples in the Indian team. One was VVS Laxman. He often performed when the team was battling. And the other one was Gautam Gambhir, who often made runs in trying circumstances, under pressure, and often they could be termed ugly runs, but he was able to make those performances. And those guys are very much needed, and those employees, I suppose, are very much needed in your organization. They stand tall. They don't cower away and blame and find ways to make excuses as to why performance hasn't happened. They stand tall, take it on the chest, and acknowledge the errors that they've made, and that they are going through a massive learning process to become the next time. In fact, I do like adversity so much because I find it's a great opportunity for leaders to understand who they are as people, number one, and number two, the people that they want to take with them on the journey. And that's why, for me, I said right at the beginning that when we focus on performance only, or we focus on results only, we never get to understand that, because what we will do is, when the results don't stack up right, we get rid of often very good people, or we get rid of people that we should get rid of, but then we start creating distrust within the environment. So for me, I love the fact that we are on this journey. So performance is a journey for me. It's not a destination. And in that, you will find lots of adversity, lots of obstacles, and you'll find the people through that time that you'll want to work for the rest of your days.
Excellent advice, Gary. Excellent advice. You know, these are my people. If they're not allowed in, none of us are going. In your interviews, you have highlighted this stand that Captain MS Dhoni took as a great example of loyalty. Now, he refused to go into some function unless every one of his team members was allowed in. So for you, you know, as a coach, what do trust and loyalty mean? And how do we take lessons from that as business leaders?
Oh, that's a great question, Keshav. And, you know, words like trust, loyalty, integrity, value system get thrown around teams and environments as if they're words that just exist because they're nice words. But actually, when you unpack them and you see the behaviors that reflect integrity and trust and loyalty, that's what I'm really interested in. I don't like the words as they are just individually on a wall. I like the words when I see the behaviors reflected out of it. And the example that you use was MS Dhoni, who's probably one of the most remarkable leaders I've ever come across. It was during the World Cup, right at the beginning of the World Cup, and we got invited to go to an Air Force base camp in Bangalore. And on the morning of the event, the security detail asked for the passports of the foreigners that were part of the team, of which I was one. And a message came back an hour later to say, sorry, we haven't cleared the security, and only the Indian players can come to the Air Force camp, and not the foreigners. To which MS Dhoni sent a message back and say, well, then none of us are coming, as you articulated. And it was a great indication after 3 years being with the Indian team of a leader who believed in we're all in this together, and my loyalty sits with the members of this Indian team, whether they're Indian or not, and my trust sits in them. And we are a close-knit environment with a huge amount of loyalty and trust within it, and nothing's going to break that. And that example is a great example for when we are under pressure or in adversity. Do we stand together? You know, when we go into the public domain, and MS was very good at this, he never criticized an individual. Never, ever. Never blamed an individual, never criticized an individual. So when things are tough, we'll all take the rap together, And when things are going really well and someone's made an individual performance, we'll stand up and we'll say he was really good on that day and we're very proud of him.
Amazing. So that visit must have been special for all of you, and you must have enjoyed it even more, I guess, the visit to the Bangalore Air Force Base.
We never went.
Gary, bringing in Mike Horn, who's a great modern day adventurer, to talk to the Indian players was, I think, an absolutely brilliant move. His talk redefined the concepts of pain, fear, and exhaustion for the players, and actually helped them to assess and deal with pressure much, much better, I guess, right? How do you think business leaders, should take lessons from this in a never before, never again normal that now lies ahead of us post-COVID?
One of the dangers of leadership is that we use what we call tick the box exercises, where we supposed to be saying things that are going to make a difference to players, and supposed to make a difference to the people that are following us. And I just felt at that point in time that there was nothing more that I needed to say to this team, and that to reframe tomorrow's final was probably the best thing that we could do. And also just to get perspective and just take the narrative of it's the World Cup final away from the players' minds for a short period of time, and just to reframe it with an individual that has to make decisions that are life-threatening, and quick decisions that are life-threatening. And we left that 45-minute talk from Mike Horn, and the guys are really pumped for the next day. But I think the thing that came out of that talk more than anything was the fact that tomorrow's just the World Cup final. Mike Horn has just summited an 8,000 meter peak and was able to come down alive from that peak, and he didn't die on the mountain, and it gave us great perspective in terms of what we're about to embark on.
Brilliant, absolutely. So Gary, thank you so much for taking us down this journey into your mind and your heart as a leader and a coach. But I have a few rapid fire questions for you, which this audience is very used to. So quick, crisp answers, and we'll be on our way. So first one, MS Dhoni or Graham Smith, your vote as captain?
That's a tough one. But I'll go MS Dhoni. I'll go MS Dhoni.
Great. Discipline or flair? What do you rank as more important?
Discipline.
One top quality as a coach?
Top quality as a coach is ability to build relationships.
One word that the Gary Kirsten Academy stands for?
Detail.
Winning matches or grooming better cricketers? Which is a more important goal as a coach?
Grooming better cricketers. People's lives.
Fantastic. If not a cricketer, what other sport would you have chosen, Gary?
Rugby. You probably don't know that.
No. We know it very well. I grew up in Calcutta, so I've seen it a lot. Test match, ODI, or T20? Your choice.
As a player, test match. As a coach, T20.
And your favorite cricket venue?
Sorry, Keshav, I didn't hear you.
Your favorite cricket venue?
Lords.
Lords, okay. So you're one of those who loves history. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
A shot as a batsman you have never attempted?
The ramp shot.
This one's tough, huh? Your favorite IPL team, RCB or Mumbai Indians?
RCB.
Yeah, good one, good one. A lot of people listening. Favorite CSA T20 team, 6-gun Cape Cobras or Multiply Titans?
I enjoy them. I enjoy Titans,
Great.
even though I live in Cape Town.
This one is tough as well, you know. Tandoori chicken versus South African braai.
Oh no, South African braai by distance.
Oh, that was wonderful, Gary. So I think we're running out of time, but I must, finish by saying on the GaryKirsten.com website, I found this really, powerful statement. No matter your age, skill level, or experience, we have a cricket coaching program for you. This is the greatest lesson you have given us through today's interaction, if you ask me. A lesson that is really vital for us as business leaders to really take us and our people into the redefined normal ahead. Thank you, Gary, very much for a most enjoyable session. Your deep expertise, astute insights on leadership, and deep human connectedness has kept us totally engaged and inspired. And here's wishing you the very, very best. I hope to see you and meet you sometime soon again. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Keshav, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Back to you, Shreya.
Okay, thank you, Keshav and Gary. Trust Keshav to actually stump Gary, because Gary, a lot of those questions actually was taking time to think of what the perfect response was.